Klazar pressed his face against the viewing port as the transport ship docked with Unity Hub. His three eyes widened at the sight of the massive space station. It spun slowly, creating artificial gravity that made his limbs feel heavy and sluggish. "Remember, son," his father Mojanar said, placing a webbed hand on Klazar's shoulder, "humans live in what we consider harsh conditions. Their gravity is stronger than ours, and they enjoy temperatures we find uncomfortable." Klazar nodded, his skin shifting to a nervous blue pattern. At 7 years old, he was the youngest Vixilian to participate in the cultural exchange program. His father, as ambassador, had insisted the family come together. "Will I have to wear the environment suit all the time?" Klazar asked, tugging at the thin membrane that helped maintain moisture on his amphibious skin. His mother, Linra, adjusted his suit. "Only in the common areas. Our quarters have been adjusted to Vixilian standards." The docking procedure completed with a soft thump. Klazar felt his heart chambers flutter with excitement and fear. He had studied humans in school, but meeting real Deathworlders was different. "Welcome to Unity Hub," a human voice announced over the speakers. "Please proceed through the adaptation chamber for atmospheric balancing." The family gathered their belongings and moved through the airlock. Klazar noticed his parents' nervous glances. This was a big moment for Vixilian-human relations. After passing through several chambers with gradually changing conditions, they emerged into the main reception area. Klazar immediately noticed how bright everything was. Humans needed more light than Vixilians, whose home planet orbited a dim red star. A tall human in a blue uniform approached them. "Ambassador Mojanar, welcome to Unity Hub. I'm Captain John Palmer, Station Commander." Klazar watched in fascination as the human extended a hand. His father had practiced this greeting and reached out his own three-fingered hand. "We're honored to be here," Mojanar said. "This is my mate Linra and our offspring, Klazar." Captain Palmer smiled down at Klazar. "We have a child about your age. My daughter Lily is excited to meet you." As if summoned by her name, a small human with yellow hair bounded into the reception area. "Dad, is that them? Are they here?" She skidded to a stop when she saw Klazar, her eyes growing wide. "Wow, you're blue, and you have 3 eyes," she exclaimed. "Lily," Captain Palmer said in a warning tone, "remember our discussions about cultural differences." Klazar's skin rippled with surprise patterns. Human children were so direct. On his world, such comments would be considered impolite. "It's okay," Klazar said, his translator converting his clicks and whistles to English. "I've never met a human child before either." Lily grinned, showing her teeth. On Vixilia, showing teeth was a threat display, but Klazar knew humans did this to show happiness. "We're neighbors," Lily announced. "Your quarters are next to ours. Dad said I could show you around if your parents say it's okay." Klazar looked hopefully at his parents. After a moment, his mother nodded. "Under station supervision," Captain Palmer added. "We've assigned Officer Gary Rivera to help your family adjust." A shorter human stepped forward and introduced himself as their guide. As the adults discussed logistics, Lily edged closer to Klazar. "Can you swim?" she whispered. "We have a recreation pool. And the science lab has animals from Earth you can see. Oh, and there's the observation deck where you can see the stars without filters." Klazar felt his anxiety diminish. Maybe this human wasn't so scary after all. "I would like to see these things," he replied. "Great. We're going to be best friends," Lily declared. The concept of best friends wasn't in his translator's database, but Klazar understood the sentiment. He was far from home on a station full of Deathworlders who could withstand crushing gravity and extreme temperatures, but maybe this wouldn't be so bad. As they followed Officer Rivera to their quarters, Lily walked beside Klazar, chattering about station life. The gravity made his legs ache, but the excitement of discovery pushed away the discomfort. His first day among Deathworlders had begun. 2 weeks after arriving at Unity Hub, Klazar noticed strange changes happening around the station. Humans were hanging shiny objects on walls, and placing small trees covered in lights in public areas. The environmental conditions remained uncomfortable for him. Too dry, too bright, too heavy. But his curiosity overcame his discomfort. Why are they putting plants inside? Klazar asked Lily as they watched station crew members decorating the main corridor. Lily laughed, a sound Klazar was still getting used to. That's a Christmas tree. Christmas is coming soon. It's the best holiday ever. Klazar's translator struggled with the word Christmas. His third eye blinked rapidly, indicating confusion. What is Christmas? He asked, watching the human in maintenance coveralls hang something green with red berries near a doorway. It's when Santa comes and brings presents to all the good children, Lily explained, bouncing on her toes with excitement. We put up decorations and lights, and then on Christmas morning, there are presents under the tree. Klazar processed this information. Who is Santa? Lily's eyes widened. You don't know Santa. He's this big guy with a white beard who wears a red suit. He lives at the North Pole with his elves. And on Christmas Eve, he flies around the whole world in one night delivering presents. Klazar's skin turned a pale yellow, indicating skepticism. One night. That would require faster than light travel. How does he enter your dwelling? Through the chimney, silly. But since we don't have chimneys on the station, he'll probably come through the air vents or something, Lily said with complete confidence. Klazar felt alarm ripple across his skin. A strange being enters your home while you sleep. Is he dangerous? No, Santa is nice. He only comes to give presents to good kids. Bad kids get coal, Lily explained. And you have to leave him cookies and milk because he gets hungry going to all those houses. Klazar's three eyes blinked in sequence as he tried to make sense of this. This being travels in extreme cold, enters secured dwellings without permission, demands food offerings, and judges children. Well, when you say it like that, Lily frowned. But it's fun. You'll see. Later that evening, Klazar asked his parents about Santa during their evening meal in their moisture-controlled quarters. The humans are preparing for a visitation from a being called Santa, he reported. He apparently travels faster than their technology should allow and enters homes undetected. His father looked up from his datapad with concern. Are the humans expecting some kind of security breach? No, they seem happy about it, Klazar said. Lily says he brings objects called presents to children he deems worthy. His mother's skin rippled with amusement patterns. It sounds like a cultural tradition or myth. Remember, humans have many strange customs. But this Santa lives in a place called the North Pole, which Lily says is very cold. How can anything live there? Klazar asked. His father set down his datapad. Earth has extreme environmental variations that would be fatal to Vexillians. Perhaps this is a story about a being adapted to conditions we would find impossible. The next day, Klazar joined Lily in the station's educational center. The human instructor, Ms. Susan Wells, was showing the children how to make paper decorations called snowflakes. Lily says Santa lives where these come from. Klazar whispered to Gary, their cultural liaison who supervised their time together. Officer Gary smiled. The North Pole is one of Earth's most extreme environments. Temperatures drop to levels that would freeze your species solid in seconds. Klazar's skin paled. And humans visit this place. With special equipment, yes. Earth humans evolved to survive in harsh conditions. Klazar looked at Lily, who was happily cutting her paper into an intricate pattern. She seemed so harmless, yet she came from a world where beings could survive conditions that would kill a Vexillian instantly. So this Santa, Klazar said slowly, he must be a very powerful Deathworlder. Gary choked slightly, then composed himself. You could say that. Klazar nodded solemnly. He would need to learn more about this powerful entity who was coming to judge the children of Unity Hub. Klazar sat at a terminal in the junior section of the station library, his webbed fingers hovering over the interface. After his conversation with Gary yesterday, he felt he needed to learn more about this Santa being. The human children seemed excited rather than afraid, which confused him. He entered Santa into the search field. The results showed thousands of entries, images, and videos. Klazar's three eyes widened as he sorted through pictures of a large human with white facial hair wearing red garments. Computer, provide information on Santa's habitat and physical capabilities, he requested. The terminal displayed data about the North Pole. Klazar read with growing alarm. Average winter temperatures of -40 degrees, constant darkness for months, ice several meters thick. According to his biology lessons, such conditions would kill a vexillion in minutes. Computer, classify Earth according to galactic habitability standards, Klazar continued. The screen changed to show a planetary classification chart. Earth was clearly marked. Class 9 Deathworld. Klazar's skin turned a pale blue of shock. He had known humans came from a harsh world, but hadn't realized it ranked so high on the danger scale. The classification text explained, planets with extreme gravity, temperature variations, atmospheric pressure, radiation levels, or aggressive biospheres that would be lethal to 90% of known sentient species. So Santa is a Deathworlder, Klazar muttered to himself. A powerful one. He continued reading about Santa's supposed abilities. Traveling across an entire planet in a single night, carrying gifts for billions of children, entering secured homes undetected, knowing which children had behaved properly. Computer, is Santa classified as human? Klazar asked. After a moment, the terminal displayed. Santa Claus is a cultural figure associated with human holiday traditions. Classification, fictional entity. Klazar's skin rippled with confusion patterns. Fictional. But Lily and the other human children spoke of him as real. Perhaps this was classified information that children weren't supposed to know. He noticed a section labeled Origins and History and began reading. According to the database, the Santa figure had evolved from various human cultural traditions, including someone called Saint Nicholas. Computer, display information on Earth's military presence at the North Pole, Klazar requested, suspicion growing. The terminal showed various research stations, but no explicit military installations. However, Klazar knew from his father's diplomatic work that sensitive information was often concealed from public databases. As he was reading, a human child sat at the terminal next to him. It was Pete, a boy from Lily's class who Klazar had met during an art activity. "What you looking at?" Pete asked, leaning over to see Klazar's screen. "I am researching Santa," Klazar replied hesitantly. "Is he part of your military?" Pete laughed. "Santa? No way. He's magic. My dad says he can see us all the time, and he knows if we've been good or bad. Constant surveillance." Klazar's skin darkened with concern. "And he can enter any dwelling." "Yeah, even when the doors are locked." Pete seemed proud of this fact. "Nothing can stop Santa." Klazar thanked Pete for the information and returned to his research with renewed intensity. The picture forming in his mind was troubling. A being with advanced technology, operating from one of the most inhospitable regions on a death world, conducting global surveillance, and entering secured facilities at will. Computer, display known defenses against Santa incursions, Klazar tried. The terminal displayed. No results found. That evening, as Klazar's family shared their evening meal, he remained quiet, his skin shifting through worried patterns. "Is something bothering you, offspring?" his mother asked, noticing his distress. "I believe the humans are expecting an infiltration by a powerful Deathworlder," Klazar said carefully. "They call him Santa, and he can travel faster than light and bypass security systems." His father's skin showed alarm patterns. "Are you certain? That sounds like a serious security concern." "The children speak of him constantly," Klazar confirmed, "and they say he's coming soon." His parents exchanged worried glances. "Perhaps," his father said slowly, "I should inquire about this with Captain Palmer." Mojanar stood stiffly in Captain Palmer's office, his skin cycling through formal diplomatic patterns. The human sat behind his desk, a look of confusion growing on his face as the Vexillian ambassador spoke. "So, Captain, I must formally inquire about this Santa operation scheduled for the upcoming Earth calendar date of December 25th, Mojanar said. "My offspring has expressed concerns about station security." Captain Palmer blinked several times. "I'm sorry, Ambassador. Did you say Santa operation?" "Yes. According to our intelligence, a powerful Deathworlder with advanced technology will be infiltrating the station and entering private quarters while residents sleep," Mojanar continued. "My offspring reports that human children are aware of this and seem unusually accepting of the security breach." Palmer's expression shifted from confusion to understanding, then to carefully controlled amusement. "Ambassador, I believe there's been a misunderstanding. Santa Claus is not real. He's a character in human folklore associated with our winter holiday." Mojanar's skin flashed with uncertainty patterns. "But the children speak of him as a real entity. My son says your own daughter confirmed this being's existence." Palmer sighed and rubbed his forehead. "Children believe in Santa. It's a tradition for human parents to pretend he's real and leave gifts for their children, supposedly from him." Before Mojanar could respond, the office door slid open, and Station Security Chief Olivia Rodriguez entered, her face serious. "Captain, we have a situation. Someone has been accessing restricted files about Earth's polar regions and military capabilities," she reported, then noticed the ambassador. "Oh, I apologize for the interruption." Mojanar's skin turned a pale yellow. "I believe my offspring may be responsible. He has been researching this Santa entity." Rodriguez looked confused. "Santa Claus? How does that connect to?" "My son believes Santa is a powerful Deathworlder operating from Earth's North Pole," Mojanar explained. "Given the extreme conditions you humans consider habitable, his concern seems logical." Rodriguez and Palmer exchanged glances. The security chief's professional demeanor cracked slightly as she fought back a smile. "I see," Rodriguez said carefully. "Perhaps we should organize a cultural briefing about human holiday traditions." In the station's educational center, Klazar was growing increasingly anxious. He had noticed the human children making lists of items they wanted from Santa. Were these offerings to appease this powerful entity? Lily showed him her list proudly. "I asked for a new holographic pets game and a model of the interstellar exploration vessel. Will Santa bring these items if he judges you favorably?" Klazar asked, his voice clicking with stress. "Well, Mom says not to ask for too much because Santa has lots of kids to visit," Lily explained. "But I've been really good this year." Ms. Wells, the human teacher, approached them with a smile. "Klazar, your father just called. He'd like you to join him in meeting room 3. Klazar's skin pulsed with alarm patterns. Had his father discovered something dangerous about the Santa situation? When he arrived at the meeting room, he found his parents, Captain Palmer, Security Chief Rodriguez, and Cultural Officer Gary Rivera waiting. Their expressions were serious. "Klazar," his father said, "we need to discuss your concerns about Santa Claus." Captain Palmer leaned forward. "Klazar, I understand you've been worried about Santa coming to the station." Klazar nodded, his third eye blinking rapidly. "He is a powerful Deathworlder who can enter locked dwellings. The human children expect his arrival soon." Palmer's lips twitched slightly. "Santa is not real, Klazar. He's a story we tell our children." "But Lily and the others believe he is real," Klazar protested. "Human parents pretend Santa is real to make our winter holiday special for children," Palmer explained. "We leave gifts for them and say they're from Santa." Klazar's skin showed confusion patterns. "You deliberately mislead your offspring." Gary Rivera stepped in. "It's a form of play and imagination, Klazar. Like the stories your people tell of the star swimmers." Klazar's skin darkened with embarrassment. "So there is no powerful Deathworlder coming to the station?" "No," Chief Rodriguez assured him. "Station security is not compromised." As understanding dawned, Klazar felt both relief and a new concern. He had caused a diplomatic incident over a children's story. The Unity Hub's diplomatic chamber had never hosted such an unusual meeting. Representatives from 5 different species sat around the oval table, with Captain Palmer at the head. The humans called it the Santa Situation Task Force, though most tried not to smile when saying it. "Thank you all for coming," Palmer began. "We have a cultural misunderstanding that has grown beyond a simple confusion. It now affects multiple species on the station." Amy Clark, the human cultural liaison, stood up. "For those who don't know, a Vexillian child misunderstood our Santa Claus tradition as a real security threat. This is spread among the non-human children." Mojanar, Klazar's father, shifted uncomfortably. "My offspring acted logically based on the information available to him. Human children speak of this Santa as though he were real." The Drillian representative, a tall insectoid being, clicked his mandibles. "My younglings now refuse to sleep in their regeneration chambers. They fear an Earth Deathworlder will enter our quarters." Palmer nodded sympathetically. "We understand the concern. From your perspective, the idea of a being who can survive extreme cold, move faster than detection systems, and enter secured dwellings would be alarming." Annie displayed images of Santa Claus on the room's screens. Santa is a cultural figure representing generosity and kindness. Human parents pretend gifts come from him to create wonder for their children. The scary ambassador, a gelatinous being floating in a containment field, pulsed with blue light. "Why would you teach your young that a stranger entering your dwelling during sleep cycles is acceptable?" Amy hesitated. "When you put it that way." "The tradition evolved over centuries," Palmer explained. "It wasn't created all at once." Kilort, the Pranchian cultural attaché, whose species resembled feathered lizards, leaned forward. "Our concern is not just the misinformation but the psychological impact. You deliberately lie to your young about a powerful being who judges them." "It's not lying exactly," Amy defended. "It's more like a shared cultural story that you present as truth," Mojnar pointed out. "My offspring believed Santa was a military operative based at your polar installation." Chief Rodriguez, who had been quiet until now, cleared her throat. "Speaking of which, we've had 17 unauthorized access attempts to polar security files in the past week." Palmer winced. "The children have been busy." In another part of the station, Klazar sat with Lily in the observation dome. The vast spread of stars usually calmed him, but today his skin rippled with embarrassment patterns. "I feel foolish for believing Santa was real," he admitted. Lily kicked her feet against the bench. "Well, my dad just told me the truth yesterday. I'm still mad at him for lying." "Your angry skin patterns don't show," Klazar observed. "Humans don't change color with emotions," Lily reminded him. "But I am upset. If Santa isn't real, who's been eating the cookies we leave out?" Back in the diplomatic chamber, tensions were rising. "We propose that all human festivals involving deception be clearly marked as fictional in station guidelines," the Drillian representative insisted. "That would ruin the experience for the human children," Amy argued. "Perhaps," Mojnar suggested, "we need a compromise that respects both human traditions and the concerns of other species." Palmer nodded. "What if we held a cultural education event? We could explain holiday traditions from all our worlds, including the concept of playful imagination versus factual information." The Skiteri ambassador pulsed doubtfully. "And until then, the young ones are frightened." "Station security will increase patrols near family quarters," Rodriguez offered, while explaining there is no actual threat. "And the human children?" Glort asked. "Will you tell them the truth about Santa?" Palmer and Amy exchanged uncomfortable glances. "Some already know," Palmer said. "Others, their parents will decide when to explain." "Fascinating," Glort noted. "You maintain the deception even knowing it causes interspecies anxiety." "Cultural traditions are complex," Palmer defended. "Indeed," Mojnar agreed, his skin showing amused patterns. "Though I must note, It seems peculiar to consider us the aliens when your species is the one with traditions of home-invading gift-givers. For the first time since the crisis began, everyone in the room, regardless of species, laughed together. Klazar's quarters resembled a small fortress 3 days before Christmas. He had pushed furniture against the ventilation ducts, created tripwires from his art supplies, and set up a primitive alert system using his science project materials. His parents had explained that Santa wasn't real, but part of him remained unconvinced. The human children still believe, he muttered as he tested a motion sensor made from modified toys. And humans evolved on a death world. They would know their own dangers. His mother entered the room, and her skin flashed with concerned patterns when she saw the barricades. Klazar, we discussed this. The Santa being is not real, she said gently. Why are you building defenses? Klazar's skin rippled with embarrassment. I know you and Father say that, but what if the humans are hiding the truth? They survive conditions that would kill us. Maybe Santa is real to them, because they are Deathworlders too. Linra sighed, a habit she had picked up from humans. The diplomatic committee explained everything. It's just a story. Then why did Lily cry when her father told her the truth? Klazar challenged. And why do adult humans continue the deception? Before his mother could respond, their door chime sounded. Linra opened it to find Officer Gary and Chief Rodriguez standing outside. Ambassador Linra, Rodriguez said formally, we need to speak with your son about some unusual activity. Gary looked past her at the barricaded room, and his eyes widened. I see the issue has escalated. Rodriguez entered and surveyed Klazar's defenses with professional interest. Young man, did you tap into the station's security sensors to monitor the external airlocks? Klazar's skin paled. I only wanted an early warning system for when he arrives. Gary knelt to Klazar's level. Buddy, we've talked about this. Santa is just a story. Then why are there 26 Santa suits in storage locker C12? Klazar asked. I found them in the inventory database. Rodriguez raised an eyebrow. You accessed the inventory database too. Klazar's third eye blinked nervously. And why does the station receive extra deliveries of wrapped boxes classified as holiday supplies, but with no contents listed? Gary looked at Rodriguez. He's been busy. The gifts from parents to children, Rodriguez explained patiently. Adults hide them and pretend Santa brought them. And the Santa suits are for the station party, Gary added. Different crew members dress up as Santa. Klazar's skin showed confusion patterns. Multiple Santas. Is he a collective entity? In the station control center, Captain Palmer stared at a security alert on his screen. He called Chief Rodriguez on her communicator. Chief, why am I seeing unauthorized modifications to the climate control system in the Vexillian quarters? That's why we're here now, sir, Rodriguez replied. The kid set up some kind of early warning system. He's also accessed multiple restricted databases. Palmer pressed his fingers to his temples. Has he compromised any critical systems? No, sir. It's all been very creative but harmless. For a 7-year-old, his technical skills are impressive. Palmer sighed. Keep me updated. This Santa situation is getting out of hand. Meanwhile, in the station's recreation area, Lily sat with her friends Pete and Shuri, all looking dejected. My dad says Santa isn't real, Lily admitted. He says parents just pretend. Pete kicked at the floor. My mom told me to. She said they wanted to make Christmas magical for us. But why would they lie? Shuri asked. My parents always say lying is wrong. Klazar still believes Santa is real, Lily said, but he thinks Santa is dangerous. He's building traps in his quarters. Pete perked up. Traps? Cool. Can we see them? Back in Klazar's quarters, Chief Rodriguez was explaining station regulations to the young Vexillian. Unauthorized access to station systems is a serious offense, she said firmly but kindly. Even if your intentions were good. I was trying to protect everyone. Klazar insisted. If Santa can enter without detection, Santa is not real, Rodriguez emphasized. I promise you, as Chief of Security, that no unauthorized entities will enter this station. Klazar's skin showed doubt patterns. Then why do human young ones still believe? Are they all accessing restricted files too? Gary exchanged a look with Rodriguez. Captain Palmer wants to speak with you. He has an idea that might help you understand. As they escorted Klazar to the captain's office, his skin swirled with worry. He had broken rules. Would they send his family back to Vixilia in disgrace? What he didn't know was that Palmer had an unusual solution in mind, one that might resolve the Santa crisis once and for all. Chief Engineer Frank Martinez pulled the red hat over his head and adjusted the white beard. It itched terribly, but he didn't complain. The Santa suit was hot, and the padding made him look twice his normal size. How do I look? He asked Captain Palmer, who was supervising the preparation in the station's largest gathering hall. Perfect, Palmer replied. Exactly like the mythical home invader from the North Pole that has terrified our alien residents. Frank laughed. When you put it that way, it does sound bizarre. Are you sure this will work? It has to, Palmer said, gesturing to the decorated hall. The diplomatic incident has grown too big to ignore. We need to demystify Santa for everyone. The gathering hall had been transformed for Christmas Eve. A large tree stood in the center, decorated with ornaments from various Earth cultures. Wrapped presents were arranged underneath. Tables held cookies, milk, and treats from all the species represented on the station. In the corner, Klazar watched the preparations with nervous fascination. Captain Palmer had asked him to help with a special event that would answer all his questions about Santa. His parents stood nearby, their skin showing patterns of cautious optimism. Will the real Santa come? Klazar asked his father. Wait and see, Mojnar replied diplomatically. At 1900 hours, families from all species began arriving. Human children entered excitedly, while younglings from other worlds looked wary. Lily found Klazar and pulled him to a seating area near the tree. Dad says there's going to be a big surprise, she whispered. Are you still scared of Santa? I am cautious, Klazar replied, his skin showing alert patterns. I have disabled my traps as requested, but I brought a personal alarm. Lily giggled. You're funny. Captain Palmer stepped onto a small platform. Welcome, everyone, to Unity Hub's first interspecies holiday celebration. Tonight, we will share traditions from all our worlds. He smiled at the children. And yes, we have a special guest coming. The human children cheered while younglings from other species moved closer to their parents. Palmer continued, Before our guest arrives, I want to explain something important. Different cultures have different stories. Some are meant to be believed as fact. Others are what humans call pretend or make-believe. They're not lies. They're stories we share to create feelings of joy and wonder. As Palmer spoke, Chief Rodriguez discreetly moved toward a side door where Frank waited in his Santa costume. On Earth, Palmer explained, we have a tradition of a magical being who brings gifts to children. We call him Santa Claus. Human parents pretend he's real because it makes a special time even more magical for their children. Murmurs spread through the alien families as translation devices conveyed his words. To help everyone understand, Palmer announced, I've asked Santa himself to visit us tonight and explain how it all works. On cue, bells jingled and Frank entered in his full Santa costume, carrying a sack over his shoulder. Ho, 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 Merry Christmas. Human children clapped excitedly, while alien younglings reacted with varying degrees of alarm. Klazar's skin turned pale blue with fear, and he grabbed Lily's arm. It's him, the Deathworlder from the pole, he whispered urgently. Now, Palmer said calmly, I want everyone to watch carefully. He walked to Santa and reached up to the white beard. With a gentle tug, he pulled it down, revealing Frank's familiar face beneath. "This is Chief Engineer Frank Martinez," Palmer announced. "He's wearing a costume to pretend to be Santa." A collective gasp rose from both human and alien children. "Santa isn't a real being," Palmer explained. "He's a character humans pretend to be. The real magic of Santa is how he helps us think about giving gifts to each other and being kind." Frank removed his hat and waved to everyone. "It's just me under here. No special powers, no breaking into homes. Just a human in a hot, itchy costume." Klazar's skin gradually shifted from fear to fascination as Frank invited the children to come forward and examine the costume. "You see," Lily whispered to Klazar, "it's pretend." Klazar approached cautiously, his scientific curiosity overcoming his fear. When Frank let him try on the Santa hat, his skin rippled with delight patterns. "So there is no powerful Deathworlder watching us?" Klazar asked. Frank smiled. "The only ones watching are your parents, and they're scary enough without magic powers." The adults laughed, and slowly, the tension that had built up over weeks began to dissolve as children from all species took turns trying on parts of the Santa costume. 1 year had passed since the Santa incident, as it was now called in the station's unofficial history. Unity Hub was once again decorated for Christmas, but this time with some notable differences. Alongside the traditional Earth decorations, symbols from other world celebrations hung in the corridors. The main gathering hall featured not just a Christmas tree, but celebration totems from 5 different species. Klazar, now 8 years old and much more confident in the station's heavier gravity, carefully adjusted the red suit he wore. It had been modified for his Vexillian physiology, with extra room for his third eye and special moisture linings to keep his amphibious skin comfortable. "How do I look?" he asked Lily, who was helping him with the costume. "Perfect," she assured him, handing him a sack filled with small gifts. "You'll be the best alien Santa ever." Captain Palmer entered the preparation room and smiled at the sight. "Well, Klazar, you've come a long way from building traps to catch Santa." Klazar's skin showed playful embarrassment patterns. "I still feel foolish about that, Captain." Palmer patted his shoulder. "Don't be. Your misunderstanding led to something wonderful. Look at what we've created together." Through the doorway, they could see the gathering hall filling with families from all species on the station. This year's celebration had been organized by a committee representing every world, with Klazar serving as the junior Vexillian representative. "Is your father ready with his speech?" Palmer asked. Klazar nodded. "He has practiced many times. He is proud to explain Vexillian gift-giving traditions." In the year since the confusion, Klazar had become something of a celebrity on the station. His Santa defense system had actually impressed the engineering team with its ingenuity, and the story had spread throughout the diplomatic corps as a lesson in cultural misunderstandings. "It's almost time," Lily said, checking the schedule on her tablet. "The little kids are so excited to meet you." Klazar took a deep breath. After learning the truth about Santa, he had volunteered to play the role of Alien Santa for this year's celebration. His costume combined the traditional red suit with elements from his own culture. In the hall, Ambassador Mojanar stepped onto the platform. His formal diplomatic skin patterns shimmered as he addressed the crowd. "1 year ago, my offspring believed Santa Claus was a dangerous Deathworlder planning to infiltrate the station," he began, causing ripples of laughter. "Today, that same child will play the role of Santa to teach younglings from all worlds about the human concept of imagination and the universal value of generosity." Chief Rodriguez, standing near the entrance, smiled as she remembered the security alerts from last year. The Santa incident was now used in training sessions for new staff about cultural sensitivity. Ms. Wells, who now taught a multi-species class, guided her students to the front seats. "Remember, everyone, today we'll learn about holiday traditions from all our worlds." Mojnar concluded his speech. "And now, please welcome our special guest, who has traveled not from Earth's North Pole, but from the imagination of children everywhere." On cue, Klazar entered the hall. His skin beneath the costume glowed with excitement patterns so bright they were visible through the red fabric. "Happy holidays to all," he called out, using the greeting they had developed that worked for all species. Human children laughed with delight at the sight of the alien Santa, while younglings from other worlds approached curiously, without fear. A small Drillian child clicked her mandibles nervously. "Are you real?" she asked Klazar. Klazar knelt down to her level. "I am real," he said gently. "But Santa is what humans call pretend. Do you know this word?" The child nodded slowly. "It means I am playing a game of imagination," Klazar explained. "Like the swimming stories your people tell." Captain Palmer watched from the side, pride evident on his face. What had begun as a frightening misunderstanding had transformed into a beautiful new tradition. Later, as families shared foods and gifts from their various cultures, Klazar sat with Lily and their friends from different worlds. "Next year," he suggested, "we should create a holiday figure from all our traditions combined." "That's a great idea," Lily agreed. "But no breaking into homes or judging children. That part was weird even for humans." Klazar's skin rippled with laughter patterns. "Agreed. Though I still don't understand how humans find comfort in a Deathworlder entering their dwellings. And I don't understand how Vexillians find comfort in swimming in acid lakes," Lily countered with a smile. "Perhaps," Klazar said thoughtfully, "that is the true meaning of peace among worlds, not understanding everything about each other, but accepting our differences." In the station control room, the night shift crew watched the celebration on monitors. One technician turned to another. "Remember last year when that alien kid thought Santa was going to attack the station?" "Yeah," her colleague replied with a laugh. "Now look, he's Santa." The first tech smiled. "If that isn't the perfect symbol for what we're trying to build out here, I don't know what is." Outside the viewports, stars shone in the blackness of space, while inside Unity Hub, beings from worlds that could never naturally meet shared stories, traditions, and the universal joy of giving.